Welcome back to Zombies Deep Dive. If you missed the first two episodes on Nocturne Toten and Verrucht, be sure to check those out. Anyways, let's just jump into it. Shi No Numa is the odd child out of the World of War IV. It does a lot of unique things, but also has a lot of weird out-of-place things. It's the weird bridge from Verrucht to Doris, and if I was to describe Shi No Numa, it would be out of place. Shi No Numa is like a prologue to Doris, where it has a lot of key components that would make it so special, but just kind of seem to be put there for no reason. Lots of things introduced in this map originated from the Doris facility, and seeing them here just makes no sense. These include things like the 4 Ultimus characters, the Wunderwaffe, and the Hellhounds. Also, Shi No Numa is the only map in the World of War IV that takes place in a natural environment. Yes, there are buildings, but there's also things like water, hills, and mud. It's not as man-made as the other concrete madhouses we have played in thus far. Not to mention, Shi No Numa is the first map to take place outside. Kind of weird to think about, but this is the first map where you can look up and there will just be sky. So, Shi No Numa is the first map where we are introduced to what would be eventually called the Ultimus crew. Tank Dempsey is a meathead American that fights for his country and breaks the fourth wall. Takeo Masaki is an honorable warrior that fights for the Emperor. Nikolai Belinsky is a drunk Russian that fights for his vodka. And Edward Richthofen is the mad German scientist that wants to take over the world. These 4 characters are hilariously stereotyped, and this is the first time we officially meet them. Technically, Tank Dempsey was technically at Verrucht, but that was more of a last-minute retcon. The introduction of these characters introduced a complete tonal shift in the game. While Noct and Verrucht directly told the player how to feel through the map's atmosphere and gameplay, now the player is told how to feel based on character quotes. Instead of feeling like this swamp is creepy, the player is instead hyped up to kick some zombie butts. While I don't mind this kind of stuff in a map like, say, Kino, this can definitely go wrong if a situation is dire but the characters are making dick jokes.
This place looks like Willard's ass crack, and I think he forgot to wipe.
Anyways, this is the first time where we are really introduced to the zombie storyline, as we hear about the element 115 and the meter outside the map, the powerful element that is responsible for things like the wonder weapons and perks, Cornelius Purnell, and Dr. Maxis. While the core 4 characters are cool, I think only radios should have been used to introduce/tease our core 4. Just like how I suggested that the perks wouldn't be introduced until Shi No Numa, but teased on Verrucht. Introduce the characters on Doris, but tease them in Shi No Numa. It makes a lot more sense. Like, imagine if we met the Chaos crew in some random 9 cave instead of building them up and teasing them in Dead of the Night. Oh wait, Shi No Numa also introduces special enemy rounds. These come in the form of Hellhounds. While today these are a staple in almost every single Zombies map, back then this must have been absolutely terrifying. Unlike pretty much every other game, Hellhounds on World of War are tough. They're strong and fast. I can't imagine what it was like for the first time, seeing the screen get all foggy and some loud, scary voice saying, "Fetch me their soul!" And then these weird screeches from off in the distance. Running towards you at Mach 10 is a demon dog. That just sounds horrifying, and the dread of when another round comes around is all the better. The reward for surviving these short blitzes of intense dog killing is a max ammo. These days, it's all the standard, but seeing these guys for the first time, I don't want to know. Another first is a new wonder weapon, the Wunderwaffe? Look, I like the Wunderwaffe as much as the next guy, but seeing it in Shi No Numa is just weird. It doesn't really make any sense to be here. The Wunderwaffe was created at the Doris facility. Why put it in a Japanese swamp? Anyways, the Wunderwaffe is the first true wonder weapon we see besides the original ray gun. It's a lightning gun. It's cool, but what more is there to say? But seriously, while in the modern zombie context the Wunderwaffe is kind of a joke, this was revolutionary. Sure, the ray gun was great, but eventually it too fell off. The Wunderwaffe added even more power to the fighting against the zombies, and this would lead to the amazing set of wonder weapons saw throughout Black Ops 1, so good job Treyarch. So I said in my Verrucht deep dive that I think Shi No Numa is the map where the perk machine should have been introduced. This is because when you open each hut, the perks are randomly chosen and there's a flashy little cutscene thing. I think this is one of the best parts about Shi No Numa is that the perks are randomly placed. While not the most exciting thing, I think on subsequent playthroughs there's no better feeling than getting Jug on the first door open. Speaking of which, let's talk about map layout. Shi No Numa is very unique on its map layout. It starts you in the middle of the map, and there are 4 branching paths. To be honest, these paths are very forgettable and interchangeable. The only thing that makes one of them memorable is that it's the one with the flogger, but really, each branch is the exact same. Each path has some sort of water hazard that slows you down, a grassy path, and a hut at the far end of each branch. Each hut has a perk and an electric trap. Each branch is the same. There is nothing unique about any part of the map. No matter where you are, it's either a wooden building or swampy mud path. This leads to a very bland map, and with no outside influence from audio and visuals to make the player feel something, this gets pretty boring and makes me want to gravitate towards other maps and steer clear of Shi No Numa. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the fact that there is fast travel on this map. Yeah, so there's this zipline thing, and it takes you from one of the huts to the second floor of the middle building. This was so forgettable that I rendered this video before realizing it. It's pretty pointless, and it takes you like 20 feet and is slow and costs 1,500 points and goes nowhere. It's like the zombies equivalent of
20 feet that way, please.
There's also the flogger. Yeah, this was the map-defining element. A trap. A trap is the map-defining element. Yikes. Another thing about Shi No Numa is that it's incredibly easy. It's the exact opposite of Verrückt, where the space is claustrophobic and tight. Shi No Numa is wide and open, and has a lot of room to work with. On top of that, with the 24 zombie rounds, there is very little to challenge the player. In a weird bit of irony, while modern zombie maps have dog rounds as the easy free round, the hardest part about Shi No Numa was the dog rounds. Anyways, this map is so easy that the highest round ever reached is 2,147,480,000. That should give you a clue on how easy this map is. Even on co-op, there are 4 wings of the map that can be spread amongst the players, and this again leads to insanely easy high rounds. However, if there's one thing I will give Shi No Numa credit for, it's the fact that this was the precursor to Doris. This map was an experiment. Shi No Numa introduced so many new things to the table, but ultimately the execution fell flat on its face. Shi No Numa walked, so Doris could run. Overall, Shi No Numa is a boring, bland map with very little variety, and it is incredibly easy. The map is out of place, with new things introduced too early and old things introduced too late. However, the storyline, characters, and seeds of events to come are planted here, and it was the catalyst to launch zombies into the limelight. There isn't really much to say about Shi No Numa, however, the one thing I can say is that it didn't really do anything wrong, it just didn't do a lot right either, which is why I'm giving Shi No Numa a 5 out of 10. D tier.